Welcome to another episode of Getting Real in the Field, where we talk about all the things that you hate to do, like following up, making phone calls, time blocking, and all those fun things that help move your business forward. And we're here to help it make it much easier with your host, JP Fluellen and Keck Tay.
JP, I have to tell you, looking sharp today. He's looking, guys. This guy is like all dressed up and slicked us hair. Look at me. I'm wearing a t-shirt tonight, being a bum.
Hey, man, sometimes you just got to. After a long day of, folding clothes and going to church, you got to get comfy and watching football.
I've been too busy around fixing the house, taking care of laundry and stuff too. So, yep, I'm right there with you.
Yes, sir.
So what are we going to talk about tonight?
All right. So tonight we're going to talk about ISAs. So for those of you that are new to our channel, new to the channel, it's inside sales agent.
That's right. Yep.
Or what,
inside sales agents.
Yeah, I mean, people have different versions of that, but it all means that you guys basically it's somebody that's doing calling for you, that is trying to set appointments, and usually these people are unlicensed. Typically, from time to time, you'll see licensed inside sales agents, but for the most part, these are usually unlicensed folks, and depending on your compensation model. So, because we all have a lot of leads. For those of us that are been in the business a long time, we've got a lot of leads out there, and we just don't have the time to go back and go through all those leads that didn't buy the first time around.
Right.
And as we've covered in other episodes, we know that agents typically call maybe 1 to 3 times, and then they abandon those leads forever. Yep. So we have lots of gold in our databases that we just don't cultivate. So kind of, since Keck, I know you've got a lot of experience in this area. So how does this translate into, cost per lead, or is it per hour? What can a person expect if they're going to, branch out and hire, an internal sales agent?
So I've got a lot of experience working with the ISAs, and the couple of thoughts on that is that, when you are as an agent, if you've got a lot of leads and you don't have time, whether you're a solo agent or you've got a team, but you have a lot of leads that nobody's following up with, right? And you're totally right. The whole key is about follow-ups. And if you don't have the time, then maybe you should consider hiring an ISA. So there's a couple of options, and we can break it down a little bit, right? With these inside sales agents, you can hire somebody local. And it could be a licensed agent actually, but like a newer agent that you can train up, or you can pay for an assistant. And if you do pay for like an assistant, you could expect paying at least, $3 or $4 grand a month for an assistant to help you do a lot of the calling. And if they're calling, you want them to stay focused, because you don't want them to kind of say, oh, well, hey, they can be assistant helping you meet with clients, but at the same time calling, right? You want somebody who's dedicated in just calling for you. And if you got one option is like somebody that you can hire for 3 or 4 grand, or you can do part-time. And then the other option that I've worked with also is like what we call virtual assistants. And whether you can run the gamut of like, going to the Philippines, which I've heard a lot of agents doing that. You can also go to like Latin America as well too, like places like Costa Rica, if you have connections. And then one thing that I would say you should expect for a full-time person, anywhere from about $1,000 all the way up to $2,000 for a good person, a good experienced person. I know I've heard from people, and I expect comments that, oh, I've gotten it cheaper. And absolutely, you can go cheaper, but let me tell you, they're probably not as experienced, right? Or if they have a heavy accent. If you are going to go virtual, try and find somebody that you talk to, you interview them, and then you can have what we call a neutral accent, right? So they're not heavy on the accent if they're from Latin America or from the Philippines as well too. couple of things. I would say that, you know, one of the key things that you've got to do is make sure that you've prepared yourself with a calling script. Teach them how to call. Some of them might have experience already, but you've got your way, your talk track, you know, and I'm sure JP, when you call, or your team calls for some leads, you guys have like a certain script to follow, right?
We do.
Same thing, right? Same thing.
Yep.
And so the other thing too is that when you're calling, you want to set up some key metrics. You don't want to micromanage them, but you do have to manage them. And a couple key things that I always kind of look at, and I'll share with you. These are tips that, you know, they're tried and true for myself, for agents that I work with as well too. I tell them and tell them what to look for. So I'll share with you a couple. One is, how many dials are they doing each day, right? I would expect anywhere from 100 to 150 calls if they're using a single dialer. Again, for using the software, a single dialer like Mojo, or there's Vici dialer, or there's these calling tools, or dial pad as well too, right? But I know some people can talk about like multi-line, like 3-line dialer and stuff like that, and you get a lot of phone calls dialed that day. But I think you'll get more hangups and more frustrated leads if you use the multi-dialer. That's my opinion. I know some people will disagree with me. So anywhere from 100 and 150 calls if they're just dialing one by one off of your database is a good metric to go for. Now, the next thing I kind of say is like, I look at another metric as like, how many pickups do they do? You know, so the number of pickups is more like your at bats. How many at bats do you get, and how many strikeouts do you have, right? So at bats is like the number of pickups, and then you've got your, how many conversations are you having? And the number of conversations, really what it tells me is like, and let me kind of define what conversations mean. Anything more than a minute and a half, right? That means you get over like, hey JP, my name is Keck here. I'm calling from Acme Real Estate Team, and click. That doesn't count as a conversation, right? So that's why I say 90
I literally
seconds.
got one of those calls the other day. It was a recruiting call, and they're like, or no, it wasn't a recruiting. Was it a recruiting call? No, it was a call about selling a house. And the late they were hiring somebody to do these calls, and I was like, dude, that was terrible. She said she called. She's like, she said, no, actually, I knew the agent who was paying these people, and I was like, bro, what is going on? And he's like, just trying a few little different things. And I was like, dude, you need to get your money back, dude, because she didn't even try to like give a try. She called and she's like, hi, are you interested in selling your house? I said no. And then she goes, okay, thank you, bye. And she paid somebody to do that. I was like, dude, like, you gotta be like, hey, because a cold call is you come in, and you got to come. And this is where, the ISA scripting is so huge, because it doesn't matter how cheap it is you get them, because if they're not savvy enough to create a conversation from nothing, then you're just burning money, you're burning cash.
Absolutely.
Like, we train our agents to go in and say, hi, this is so and so, we're just calling folks in the area. If you know anyone that might be interested in buying or selling a home, which is way different than, do you want to buy your house? Do you want to sell your house?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a yes or no. And that, rather than, do you know anybody?
Open up the conversation, right?
Open up the conversation. And then from there you say, okay, well, great. Well, if you were if you were in the market, it would be a great time to sell.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they're saying no because they want you off the phone.
Exactly. That's what, exactly. I 100% agree. So like I said, so I'm just kind of going down that list of order. So this is great. I'm glad that you're adding the color to it. So number of dials is productivity. Number of pickups is your number of at-bats. And the number of conversations is like, hey, did you have any conversation at all? It's got to be at least 90 seconds long, a minute and a half minimum. That tells me whether or not How's your talk track? Are you earning the right to have a conversation with that lead? And then you look at how many appointments are set as a result of that, right? Of the conversation. So I
Yeah.
track those 4 metrics every time with any of
And
my
if you're
ISAs.
paying a third party company, they should be able to send you those metrics. Like it's not
Absolutely.
they
If
should
you
give
don't
you a
ask for it,
daily dialogue.
yes. And but here's a tip to everyone. If you don't ask for it, it will never happen.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. So
Yep,
if
KPIs are huge.
KPIs are huge because you're not there to watch everything. And I look at like, on average, you'll be lucky out of about 100 to 150 dials per day, you'll be lucky to get 10 pickups. Okay. 10 pickups. And so that's your 10 pickups. Now then, how many conversations are you having out of those 10 pickups? So you can't control those numbers, but what it tells me is how many at bats and how good are you in having conversations with people. So, like you said, that person that called you, you just want to hang up on them, right? That's not even going to last a minute long. Click. That means that they're probably not engaging them and the script is not very good, or they're not very good in having a conversation. So then you're at bats. I expect from my team, from an ISA, let's say out of the 10 pickups, I expect them to have like about 50 to 75% having conversations with them. And then 2 or 3 appointments out of those. And right. So if you think about that, from 100 to 150 dials, 10 pickups, I should expect anywhere from 7 to 8 conversations, in which then I'll get 3 appointments out of those. On a maybe even 4 as well too. That's a good ISA kind
Really
of
good
share result,
ISA. Yep. And
right?
so fundamentally, so then how that typically works is then once the ISA is able to have the conversation, they're booking the appointment, and usually they're, depending on how you have it set up in your office, they're either going to do a hot handoff and they're going to call an agent on their list, and then they're going to be like, I got Joey on the phone. Hi, Joey, I got Jim. Jim's a great agent. He's one of the top agents over at ABC Realty, and so I'll let you guys take care of it. And then they hand it off, or they'll set the appointment and then they'll let the agent know that they have an appointment set up, because a lot of times these ISAs have their calendars synced up, or there's multiple ways to do it where some of the ISA programs out there get it wrong, in my opinion, is that they will say, I just got off the phone with Joey. Joey's expecting your call. And at that point, the deal is usually dead, because Joey's off and he's from Boulder, Colorado, and he's smoking the hookah and he ain't gonna answer the phone. So so and he forgot that he had a conversation 5 seconds ago, and he doesn't answer the phone because he's like, oh, it's hard enough just to get off the phone, right? So that's where it starts to get a little, that's where it all breaks down. Like, you spend all this time, you got a qualified person on the phone, and Joey's smoking the hookah, so you just gotta, like,
I like the imagery you got there, man.
yeah,
Smoking a hookah, puffing
the
it out.
Doritos have taken over, Cheeto fingers, like the whole night, he's got Oreo crumbs in his beard, like he's falling asleep on the couch. He's no longer interested in talking to somebody about real estate now, because, he's having some funky dreams right now. You know, he's hanging out with Scooby and the gang in the Mystery Machine right now. So that's usually what happens, is that you get that's what happens. So usually, like, no matter what services that you use, or if you have it in house, like, they should get you on the phone, 3-way call that thing in, whatever, prepare your person, however you're going to do it, but keep them live on the phone.
Absolutely. That's a
If there's
great tip
there's some
there.
software there that you can, just do a seamless handoff.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. There's a couple of software like for dialers and stuff like that. So if you were to kind of do this, like, think about this, you should be prepared. So here's a couple of tips to get going. You can go find some outfits there. I'm not going to mention all them, but you should be able to kind of search for them, right? Find people from the Philippines and Latin America, interview them, but just be prepared. You're going to manage them too. You got to have your script, create that. You've got to kind of make sure you set the cadence of like the right hours for calling, right? You probably, I'll either call early in the morning from like 8 to 10 in the morning, and then in the evenings. If you can get that flexibility from an ISA to call during those times, that will be perfect. You got to spend money to find a dialer, Mojo, Ring Central, Dialpad, name your choice. You can kind of look it up and research that. So you got to put all of that together and think about that before you just kind of bring on an ISA to start calling. Right.
And when you're integrating all these different things, you want to find a CRM that has a good open API, because there's a lot of CRMs out there that are one-way API where they want you to plug into them, but they won't let them plug into your stuff. So sometimes the communication gets a little
I'm impressed, JP.
messy.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Not many
and
agents
so
know that.
Right.
I'm impressed. That's good.
Thank you. So you really gotta make sure you do your research on that too, because a lot of these CRMs are expensive, and then you get signed up, and then all of a sudden it's like, it's like prison. You go in and then you can't get out, and then like you try to appeal, and they're like, well, you signed up for a year, and then and then you have all your data in there, and so then you're just really it's messy. I've been there. That's why I know. I'm speaking from experience here. You really got to make sure you do your research on, because not all CRMs are created equal. And the folks over at Fieldnotes, they understand our pain. And so there you go.
Hey, I'm going to put one more shameless plug for Fieldnotes as well too. Our AI actually can call up to, so we did some math. And for folks, this is a shameless plug, so put up with me. But here's a potential cost savings for you. Everything that I just shared with you, those are all real tips that you can use. But shameless plug is that our AI platform does the same thing as an ISA. It does, and we calculated this. It can do over 1,000 leads, manage over 1,000 new leads per month, versus an ISA can call, if they're to do the same touches as what our AI platform does, they would probably do maybe 110 leads per month at half the cost. 10 times the output at half the cost. Think about that.
Crazy. One. It's crazy.
So we can definitely, if you are thinking ISA, come talk to us. We, and at least do some comparison shopping there.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I think that's a great way to end it right there. So if anybody wants to learn more about Fieldnotes, how can they get a hold of you, Keck?
They can call me. My number is 425-740-0266. Sorry, 425-740-0260.
And also, what's your big promo for large teams going into 2022 when it comes to Fieldnotes?
Large teams of 25 or more, feel free to reach out and talk to us about a free CRM for your team.
See, that's amazing. That's amazing right there. That's 2022. That's for you. There you go. All right. If you want to get a hold of us and what we're doing over at Real, you can give me a call at 307-772-1184. If you want to learn more about our real estate team, use the same number. And if you want to just chat me up, I'm all over social media. So just type in JP Fluellen into the Google machine.
Yeah. And give us feedback, subscribe and give us feedback, more ideas. The more that we hear from you, the more that we will create more topics for you guys.
And if you're listening to this and you want to be a guest on our show, please reach out to us as well. And we'll be happy to deep dive into getting real in the field. All right, guys, that's a wrap on the next episode of Real in the Field. Peace.